What's the word, chat? Yeah, coming today. Yeah, give me a minute, man. It's hot as hell down here, for real, for real. I must have left my heat on when I took off. Put my flag off real quick. I want to be an eye bust of the gang. I'm just joking, y'all. Let's get this going, man. Let me get these. Y'all rock with me, man. I rock with y'all, man. Minute down here. Put my phone up. Shit go that. Laptop dead yesterday. Damn gang outside. Back on that game. Hold on, chat. Oh yeah, game's back outside. He on that game though. I ain't got that game right now. Alright, y'all, let's get into this, man. Don't need to make y'all wait no longer, man. Top 10 evil people. I'm too scared for the CIA, boy. If the CIA ain't messing with these dudes, I mess with them. I hit the ass up top. Let's hit that like button. But yeah, for all the people that be in the comments talking about this and that, and you got the same. Shut up, bro. Shut up, bro. Alright? Just shut up. Create your YouTube channel. If you got one, you only got one family member. You better get the grinding, bro. Shut up. Don't worry about me. I'm gonna do my thing. Hey, y'all, let's get into this.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Scott Erskin. We are starting off this list with truly one of the worst people I've ever heard about. Scott's story starts off when he was a child and suffered an injury that involved his head and brain. He seemed to recover fine physically, but continued to complain of headaches and that sort of thing, and it is unclear if these things were ever looked into further. At a very young age, he began to commit violent crimes against others that I truly cannot even speak about here on YouTube. He spent 4 years in prison for one of his crimes when he was around 17 years old, but when he was paroled after the 4 years, he immediately began committing crimes again. In 1993, Scott invited a woman who was waiting for the bus into his home and ended up holding her hostage for several days. After letting her go, he was quickly arrested and ended up being sentenced to 70 years in prison. This is when he had to submit DNA to a database, and in March of 2001, the DNA was matched when the cold cases of the unsolved murders of Jonathan Sellers and Charlie Keever were reopened. In 2004, a jury sentenced him to death, and 6 days later he was transferred to San Quentin. In an interesting turn of events, Scott did die on death row, but it wasn't due to a scheduled execution. Scott died a couple years ago in July of 2020 after contracting COVID-19. In our number 9 spot today, we have Dennis BTK Raider. The BTK Killer, whose real name is Dennis Raider, was one of the worst serial killers from 1974 to 1991. He left taunting letters to police and newspapers where he described his crimes, but thankfully his annoyingly large and misplaced ego is what led to his demise. Because he craved the attention so badly, in 2004 he started communicating with the media again to try and be all smug or whatever, but this, combined with his utter lack of knowledge on how technology works, led to him being arrested in 2005. Imagine getting away with those crimes for so long and your ego and your own ignorance does.
Yeah, he was dumb. He was dumb, chat. He wanted to see. That's the thing. He wanted to get caught. His ass wanted to get caught. If a nigga don't want to get caught, man, you got away with all them crimes. They gonna be trying to holler at Popo. I ain't about to be trying to write no letters to these dudes talking about how you can't catch me. And then they catch your ass because back then, I mean, the DNA and shit wasn't fingerprint, all that shit. They didn't really have that good technology. Now, he done fucked up because they got it now.
You win in the end. During his trial, he didn't apologize for his crimes, but he did describe them in full detail, which is horrifying and honestly very unnerving. After his trial, he ended up being sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences with a minimum of 175 years.
Yeah, that nigga, he ain't never getting out. He gonna die in that joint.
When Raider was first arrested and police were taking him to the station, an officer asked him, "Mr. Raider, do you know why you're going downtown?" To which he replied, "Oh, I have suspicions why." Ew. In our number 8 spot today, we have Chester Turner. Chester is an American serial killer who, on April 30th, 2007, was convicted of taking the lives of 11 women in the Los Angeles area, and on June 19th, 2014, he was convicted of 4 more that they were able to tie back to him. June 19th, was convicted of Chester is an American serial killer who, on April 30th, 2007, was convicted of taking the lives of 11 women.
Oh, 2007, yeah, that nigga look real familiar though, bro. Cali, bro, that nigga look real familiar though. I went back home in 2007. I was already ducked up.
In the Los Angeles area, and on June 19th, 2014, he was convicted of 4 more that they were able to tie back to him. He has been referred to by prosecutors as one of the most prolific serial killers in the city's history, and if you know Los Angeles' history with things like that, that is not
Cali history is crazy. Come on, girl, you talking to a nigga that's from Cali. What you on?
Not something to take lightly. In his original trial that led to conviction, Chester was sentenced to death, but at the following one in 2014, he also received an additional death sentence. In the end, like with a lot of these kinds of stories, DNA came to save the day and help authorities find out who was committing these horrible, horrible crimes. In our number 7 spot today, we have Gary Ridgeway. This horrible human being is also sometimes known as the Green River Killer, and his crimes took place somewhere between 1982 to
I'm tweaking. Why you ain't tell me I ain't got my glasses on, chat? Why you tell me I ain't got my UVs on, chat? What y'all on? They need to be able to see for a couple more, 4 or 5 more years.
Potentially as recent as 2001. He was convicted of 49 crimes but confessed to an unbelievable 71, which makes him the second most prolific serial killer in the United States in terms of confirmed killings. Most of his victims were either sex workers or women in other vulnerable circumstances, and through DNA profiling evidence, in 2001, authorities were able to connect him to 4 of his crimes. From there, they made a deal with him where they would spare him the death sentence in exchange for disclosure of the location of all of the missing women. Gary took the deal and was spared the death sentence, and instead was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Not only did he say that he chose the type of victims he did because they were, quote, easy to pick, and that he, quote, hated most of them, but he also called his crimes his career. I hate him. In our number 6 spot today, we have Charles Ng. Charles' story really starts off shortly after he moved to the United States on a student visa. He dropped out after his first semester, and soon after he was involved in a hit-and-run accident. He then tried to avoid prosecution by enlisting in the United States Marine Corps using false documents that stated his birthplace was within the United States. He was arrested by military police a year later for stealing automatic weapons, and then somehow he escaped custody, headed back towards Northern California, and this is where he met Leonard Lake, who is another real piece of work. Charles did end up going away and serving a bit of time, but it was only 18 months, and then he was back with Leonard, and that is when the two started their crime spree together. It is believed that together the pair took the lives of somewhere from 11 to 25 different people. When Leonard was caught and brought in for questioning, he sneakily took a cyanide pill he had hidden in his jacket and took his own life, but Charles ended up standing trial. He was convicted for 11 of the killings, and he remains on death row at San Quentin. In our number 5 spot today, we have Robert Pikon. This horrible person is one of the worst Canadians to ever live and is one of our country's worst serial killers ever. Pikon dropped out of school and began
Dude's a weirdo, bro. I heard about this dude. That is psychopath, bro.
working at his family's pig farm, and this is where most of his absolutely horrific crimes took place. He was first arrested in
Yeah, of course. Why? You know what? Why wouldn't he dump the bodies there, bro? Why not? I already know what she's going at. That's the perfect place to dump the bodies at, bro. You kill somebody, bro. I ain't telling y'all what to do, but I'm just saying, bro. That's the perfect place to dump some bodies at. Y'all know about pigs, they eat everything, bro. Out of down bones, for real, for real.
2002 and was convicted in 2007 of taking the lives of 6 people, but throughout an extremely lengthy investigation, evidence of many more killings came to light. During his time in jail, an undercover police officer posed as his cellmate, and Pikon confessed to 49 crimes to him. Apparently, he was saying to the undercover officer that he wanted to take one more life to make it an even 50, and that he only got caught because he was sloppy. The entire trial was a bit of a mess, but it led to a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years, which
Said he can kill Mo now. He wanted to knock off one Mo. Shit. He can knock off 100 Mo. 1,000 Mo. They already gave him a life sentence. I mean, what they gonna do? Give him like more life sentences? This nigga never gonna see the light of day, bro.
was the longest possible sentence under Canadian law at the time. This unfortunately does mean that he will be eligible for parole within the next decade, so let's hope that never ever happens. In our number 4 spot today,
Oh, and also for the guys who like to hate in the comments, because this is going over to the other side. Bro, no, I ain't.
we have the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer is one of the most well-known serial killers ever, and that is never a good thing. From 1973 to 1986, the GSK was responsible for taking the lives of 13 people, harming 50, and 120 different burglaries all across California. Throughout the investigation process, he used different tactics to both taunt and threaten police and the victims, which is just on a whole other disgusting level. Through recent genetic testing, like those 23andMe things, the identity of the GSK was finally revealed after years and years of investigations. Basically, they uploaded a DNA profile that they were able to get from the crime scenes to the website GED Match. They were able to find 10 to 20 people who had the same great-great-great-grandparents as a match. And then from there, the genealogist made a large family tree, and from there, they were then able to single out 2 main suspects. After covertly collecting DNA samples from one of the suspects and comparing them with the crime scene DNA, they were finally able to arrest Joseph James D'Angelo, who is the Golden State Killer. After decades of waiting, the victims of his crimes were finally able to see justice served, as he was sentenced to 12 life sentences plus 8 years. He was spared the death penalty because he admitted to numerous crimes that he had perpetrated, some of which he wasn't even being charged for. He is now 75 years old and will definitely spend the
Bro, that fool dry snitching on himself? He giving up bodies fucking ain't even know about?
rest of his life in prison. In our number 3 spot today, we have Rodney Alcala. Rodney is a horrible monster who was convicted and sentenced to death for 5 crimes that he committed in California from 1977 to 1979. He also received an additional 25 years to life after pleading guilty to 2 other in New York from 1971 to 1977. Rodney got away with his crimes for a while because he wasn't the top of the list of suspects, because he was said to be the, quote, charming photographer. Rodney is often referred to as the dating game killer because of his appearance on the show, which, with what we now know about him, is absolutely horrifying. What's even crazier is that he actually won the show he was on, but the episode's bachelorette refused to go on a date with him because she found him, quote, creepy. This is just a
She was smart as fuck, y'all. She said she didn't want to go on a date with him because he seemed creepy. She made the best decision of her life. Like, really. If she would have went with him, hasta luego.
reminder to always trust your instincts. It isn't exactly known just how many victims Rodney had. It is potentially thought that it could be much higher than the number he was convicted for. In July of last year, Rodney passed away in prison at the age of 77. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Zodiac Killer. This one had to make it on this list today because while there are a plethora of terrifying people on this list, nothing is as terrifying as an uncaught serial killer, and the Zodiac is definitely the most prolific of them all. The Zodiac
You know what, bro? This one right here was weird, bro. I mean, it wasn't weird. We already know about the Zodiac Killer. Bro, like, he's another one. Like, bro, why are you telling the cops, bro? You got away scot-free. And then they ended up finding his ass fucking years and years. years and years and years later in California, in Santa Monica, bro. They was living in Santa Monica, Cali, bro. He got it, but it didn't really matter because by the time they got to him, he was already old as hell.
Zodiac Killer took the lives of 5 people in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969. He was most known for targeting young couples or a lone male cab driver. Despite 2 people luckily and thankfully escaping his attempted evil doings, he has still never been caught. He was one of those losers.
No, I didn't know. Who the fuck was that, bro? I swear they caught was that the Zodiac, bro? They caught one of these killers, bro. I might be wrong, but I swear I thought it was the Zodiac Killer. Caught his ass in California in Santa Monica. I'm gonna have to look that shit up, bro. But I'm pretty sure that's who it was. But she said he was never fucking caught. They ain't staying hip to the news. It was one of them. Y'all comment and let me know if I'm right. I know one of their ass got caught in Santa Monica, California.
Who left notes and stuff for the police to find. I like that they think they're being all cool and clever and brave while they do that. Like, if you're so brave and almighty and unafraid, then show us your face. While no one has heard from the Zodiac since 1974, the case remains active in many different countries, and maybe one day we'll finally know who the real Zodiac is. In our number 1 spot today, we have Robert Hansen. Robert is often referred to as the Butcher Baker, and his story truly is horrific. He's one of the most prolific serial killers in Alaska's history because, for over a decade, he would kidnap women and bring them into the wilderness where he would then stalk them like prey. I am just now realizing that there is definitely an episode of Criminal Minds about this guy. Sometimes the premise is just so dark that it sticks with you. The reason he got away with his crimes for so long is because outside of these horrific things, he was just a soft-spoken baker. One of my best friends has the nicest, most kind bakers for parents, and now I'm starting to feel a little suspicious. Might want to look into them, Robin. Robert was heading to church by day and prowling clubs at night looking for the next person to take. What led to the downfall of this horrible monster was a badass named Cindy Paulson who was able to escape from Robert and was sure to leave evidence behind. She then went to authorities and told them what happened, and this led to a search warrant for Robert's property, which is where all the evidence they needed lied. Robert is believed to have taken the lives of at least 17 women, and in 1983 he was sentenced to 461 years and a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Starting off this list today in our number 10 spot, we have Harold Shipman. Coined with the terrifying nickname Dr. Death, Harold Shipman is thought to be responsible for taking the lives of 218 of his patients from 1972 to 1998. Because of his obvious position as a physician, he was able to fly under the radar for so long despite committing so many of these atrocious crimes. This is, in the end, what led to his downfall, however. Because so many of his patients were passing away, people started to get suspicious, and this was only exacerbated by the fact that he claimed many of his patients, who were normally elderly women, had passed away in their sleep, but when people started to notice that many of them had actually passed away during the day, people began to get concerned about what sinister secrets may be hiding in the dark. This all coupled with the fact that Harold had asked for an unusually large number of cremation certificates, which ended up catching the attention of a local undertaker, was enough to bring the authorities, who began to investigate. For a while it was believed that Harold should be cleared of all suspicion until the death of an 81-year-old under mysterious circumstances. Her family demanded an investigation because they noticed that her insurance beneficiary had been changed to Harold, which obviously was a major red flag. I mean, I love my doctor, but I'm not about to leave them my life's savings, you know? Another thing that really tipped people off is that this woman had passed away shortly after a home visit from Harold, despite her being fine before his arrival. They ended up exhuming the body and found that she had actually passed away from a morphine overdose, and the timing of that overlapped with the time that Harold had been in the home. After further investigation, it was realized that Harold also encouraged all of the families of those who had passed away to cremate the bodies, which is exactly why he needed all of those certificates, as well as the fact that he jumped through hoops to assure them that the cause of death he wrote down was the true and real cause.
He was actually knocking their ass off the whole time, chat. He was a sadistic old dude. Pretty smart. I'm pretty sure he was a smart guy, but with the crimes he was committing, He was fucking Einstein, bro. He's killing these people and then convincing their loved ones to cremate them and then telling them that the cause of death that he wrote on their death certificate was actually the cause when he was killing their ass and he was telling them to cremate them so that shit won't lead back to him. That shit crazy.
Imagine, you're like, I would assume so. Thankfully, he wasn't cleared of suspicions and was caught for his terrible crimes. He was tried and convicted of 15 counts of his crimes, but after his conviction, an audit estimated his number of victims to be around 236. In our number 9 spot today, we have Richard Ramirez. Richard, who is also known as the Night Stalker, was a serial killer who terrorized the streets of Los Angeles in the 1980s. He was known for his MO of invading homes, which left him initially being dubbed as the walk-in killer, but he
That's crazy. Because I was in Cali at that time. And she said the 80s. So that means from the early to middle. Either way it go from early to the middle, I was running the streets of Cali.
He had another signature that was concerning to many people, especially during the height of the Satanic Panic. Richard was known for leaving behind different satanic messages at the scene of his crimes. Because of his satanic signature, after he left his first pentagram at the scene of a crime, authorities became worried that he was a Charles Manson copycat, but instead he was just his very own kind of monster. It is said that he would leave more pentagrams behind while also telling his victims to swear to Satan instead of God. During his court appearances, he would hold up a pentagram and
fucking weird right there, chat. Look that out. Fucking bro, that dude is fucking sick.
to swear to Satan instead of God. During his court appearances, he would hold up a pentagram, and after pleading not guilty, he said, quote, "Hail Satan." In our number 8 spot today, we have H.H. Holmes. H.H. is often referred to as America's first serial killer, which just seems like a title no one should ever want to hold. While he confessed to 27 of his crimes, there are some who believe the actual number might be closer to 200, which is absolutely insane. You might be wondering how he was able to accomplish this horrifying amount of crimes, and that is due to his building of a hotel in Chicago. This hotel was designed to be like a maze full of windowless rooms which were intended to make escaping almost impossible, which honestly is just a terrifying thought. H.H. was the only person who knew the entire layout of the hotel, which he purposefully ensured by hiring and firing multiple different builders throughout the construction of the hotel. The hotel consisted of things like secret passages and trapdoors, soundproof rooms, doors that locked from the outside with gas jets on the inside. There was also a safe big enough for a human to be put inside of, which unfortunately he did, and there was also a very large chute which he used to get bodies from the upper floors to the basement, where there were 2 huge furnaces, a kiln, as well as a ton of acid. Not only would he get close to women to take control of their finances and then kill them, but he would also require his employees to take out life insurance policies that named him as the beneficiary. Again, a big red flag. Some of the bodies he even ended up selling to medical schools. Eventually he was found out, caught, and sentenced to death. It isn't known exactly how many victims he had, but it's thought to be somewhere over 200. In our number 7 spot today, we have Luis Garavito. Luis gained a nickname from the media of, quote, the Beast, and I think that's a great indication of the nature of his atrocious crimes. He is said to be one of the worst serial killers in the entire world, and it is believed that his victim count is up in the 300s range. He confessed to 147.
Isn't it called 300 bodies? Nah, he probably capping. He probably caught way more than 300 bodies.
7 crimes, and he was found guilty on 139 of those counts, which put his sentence at 1,853 years. But here's the thing. This trial took place in Colombia, where he lives, and there is a law which puts the maximum sentence to 30 years. He was sentenced in 1999, meaning there's only a few years of his sentence left, and there's a chance he could get out early for good behavior. According to Luis himself, he committed these.
Hell yeah, if you fly up under the radar, he hit a real loophole there. But he ended up only getting 30. Shit. All thing you gotta do is just fucking stay out the way, bro. That probably definitely let his ass out on fucking good behavior, bro. And he probably, hopefully he ain't back out on the same shit. Hopefully he learned his ways, but that never happened. They'd be back out there off motherfuckers again.
Crimes because he had made a deal with the devil, and he explained that satanic ritual was involved in all of his crimes. In our number 6 spot today, we have John Wayne Gacy. With a nickname like Killer Clown, it is abundantly clear why everyone would want to stay away from this actual monster. He got his start in this horrifying nickname by being a clown for children's birthday parties.
I got them that the last one I was talking about. Damn, what the hell is it again? That I thought got caught in Cali. I think it might have been this
charitable events and that sort of thing. According to Gacy himself, all of his crimes were committed inside of his ranch house, where he would lure his victims into. He would then trick them into wearing handcuffs under the pretense that he was going to show off some sort of magic trick, and from here, the horror unfortunately ensued. It is thought that he took the lives of somewhere around 33 young men, most of which he buried in the crawl space of his home. On the evening of December 11th, 1978, Gacy took the life of his last victim, Robert Peist. Gacy lured the young man in when he went into the pharmacy that he worked at, and while talking with the store owner, loudly declared so that Robert could hear that he often hired teenagers for his firm at a starting rate of $5 per hour, which was double what Robert was getting at the pharmacy. In hopes of getting a new good job, Robert ended up inquiring further after his shift at the pharmacy was over. When Robert's mother filed a missing persons report, the pharmacy owner was able to explain that Gacy was likely the person he went to speak to about the job, and when the police looked into Gacy's background, all the pieces were there just waiting to be put together. Subsequent investigation, questioning, and searches led police to gather all of the evidence they needed to arrest and charge him, and his conviction for 33 was, at the time, the most by one individual in the United States legal history. He was sentenced to death on March 13th, 1980, and on May 10th, 1994, he was by lethal injection, and I'm not gonna lie, I just think that's something we can all be grateful for. In our number 5 spot today, we have Albert Fish. Albert is one of the oldest people on this list, but that does not mean his crimes were any less horrific than anyone else's. Dubbed the Brooklyn Vampire or the Moon Maniac.
Yeah, I was wrong again. If y'all remember, I can't remember, bro, what serial killer that was. There's so many of them, bro. There was one of them they called in goddamn Cali. They called him in Cali in Santa Monica. Living somewhere on the beach, seaside. Yeah.
Or even the boogeyman himself, it is clear that Albert was a terrible human who did terrible things. In the early 1900s, Albert was arrested, tried, and convicted for killing and eating 3 people, but the horror was not over here. No, Albert began to claim that although people knew about the 3, the number was closer to 100, and he even claimed that he had some in every state. That's disgusting. To make matters even worse, as if it wasn't already terrible enough, this deranged lunatic also sent a letter to the mother of one of his victims. He detailed everything about how he lured her and the rest of the horrific things that occurred afterwards, like how he proceeded to eat her over the course of 9 days. Yeah, this is another person that I am not sad at all that they don't exist anymore. That's perfectly fine by me. In our number 4 spot today, we have Sam Little. Sam Little is well known for being one of the worst serial killers ever. He has confessed to taking the lives of more than 90 people, and while authorities have only been able to definitively connect him to 30, they say they have no reason to doubt the validity of any of his other confessions. Sam was able to continue on his horrible path for so many years because of the fact that he committed these crimes in different states and different counties, which made it more difficult to connect his crimes to one another. In an interview with an investigator named Sergeant LeBlanc, as they discussed religious beliefs, they spoke about the nature of sin. Sam stated he had no fear of God and said that God made him this way, so why should he ask for forgiveness? He said that God knew everything he did. He also allegedly told a few select people that he believed he was the devil. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Alphabet. There are a lot of scary people on this
Bro said he thought it was the devil. Hell yeah, he the devil.
list today, but some of the scariest out there are the ones we know have committed horrific crimes but have yet to be identified. Yes, we are talking cold cases, unsolved crimes right now, and we are talking one of the worst. The Alphabet killings are a series of unsolved crimes named because of how each victim had their first initial match their last. So like their first name and their last name started with the same letter. They know these crimes are linked, or at least they have reason to suspect they are because of the similar MO that includes how the life was taken and where the remains were placed afterwards. They were all taken in a similar area around the same time. There are theories and suspects as to who could have committed these horrific crimes, but as of right now, no one knows for sure. These crimes were committed between 1971 and 1973 in Rochester, New York, and because of the timing, it's possible that whoever committed these crimes could still be alive, or perhaps they're not. Authorities, despite having an immensely difficult job placed in front of them, are still committed and trying to solve this case to this day. In our number 2 spot today, we have Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez had a very difficult life growing up, and unfortunately this led to him living a life committing a plethora of horrifying crimes throughout South America during the 1970s. By the time the 1980s rolled around, as he made a mistake during one of his awful crimes, this led to his arrest. Once in police custody, he spilled everything on basically his entire life and confessed to an insane amount of crimes. Like, we're talking confessing to 240 killings on top of the 110 they already suspected him of. Police were a little skeptical of just how many crimes he said he committed, but Pedro was able to lead them to a mass grave where he recovered a total of 53 people's remains. Pedro, of course, went to jail, but get this, he was somehow released in 1994, which is absolutely insane. He was then sent to some sort of mental institution for 3 years, but then he was also released from there for, quote, good behavior. Okay, so aside from the crimes he committed and the fact that they let him go, are you ready for the worst part? Well, in 2002, he was suspected of being the perpetrator of a new crime, but no one has been able to find him since 1998. Yep, Pedro just disappeared. Great. In our number 1 spot today, we have Jeffrey Dahmer. This is one man who is exceptionally terrifying because of his actions, but he was also very, very smart.
Hold on, chat. Let me fix that real quick. Hold on.
Which adds an extra layer of terror to this one. Dahmer, who became known as the Milwaukee Monster, is one of the most prolific serial killers ever, and considering everyone we've talked about today, we know that's not an easy title to get. He became fixated with animals at a young age, and if you're interested in true crime and criminology, you know what happens next and how bad of a sign it is. Dahmer dropped out of business school due to alcohol after just 3 months and enlisted in the US Army to train as a medical specialist, but that didn't last long either, as he was discharged after he attacked 2 fellow soldiers. After this, Dahmer fell hard into alcoholism, and this is when his killings—
Yeah, you know, it's because of this microphone, how I got it. I took it off the actual stand. Sorry, chap. We gotta pause it, but I took it off the stand, so everything is backwards. So if I'm turning this dial to the right, it's turning it down. If I'm turning it to the left, it's turning it up. And I thought it was the opposite way, so I've been having my audio or my voice hella down. But we good now. Let's get back into it.
Spree started. Just to be clear, those 2 things are not related. I know you know that, but I just don't want anyone to think otherwise.
Still clear?
Between 1971 and 1991, Dahmer went on to take the lives of 17 people, and some of the things that came after included the permanent preservation of the body parts, typically all or part of the skeleton. Right. So, yeah. Things were very, very dark. One of his victims was able to escape and booked it to the police, which is of course what led to Dahmer being caught for his atrocious crimes. When they got there, the chief medical examiner remarked that it was more like dismantling someone's museum than an actual crime scene. That is just how bad it was. In the end, Dahmer was tried and convicted and sentenced to 15 life imprisonments, and in February of 1992, he received an additional life sentence for a crime he hadn't yet been tried for that occurred in Ohio. In a very interesting turn of events, Dahmer was killed behind bars by another inmate in 1994.
At number 10 is the Lucy Unaliving House. In Uniontown, Alabama, stands a once stunning Greek revival mansion that now seems engulfed by the earth. Its tragic history matches its eerie appearance, because in 1994, the Lucy Unaliving House gained notoriety when the remains of Alan Lucy were discovered buried beneath its front porch. Alan, who lived with his adoptive parents, Philip and Margaret Lucy, vanished in 1985. Now what's chilling is that Philip and Margaret's biological son, Jason, had been telling classmates that his father unalived Alan and buried him in the backyard. But no one believed Jason's claims back then, despite earlier rumors about the case took years to resolve, and only after decades when Alan Lucy's unaliving was brought to justice. However, the impact still lingers, as the house remains a haunted relic, reflecting the environmental injustices that have plagued upon Uniontown, driving residents away and leaving those who stayed fighting their own battles for justice. Number 9 is Gary, Indiana, where something eerie lurks amidst all these decaying houses. Around 10,000 abandoned homes scatter across the town, worn down by time and neglect. These empty structures with their crumbly walls and their worn-out roofs stand as grim reminders of a once thriving industry that faded away, leaving the town to struggle. These derelict houses now serve as shelters for those with nowhere else to go, or worse yet, are hiding spots for those with sinister intentions. A chilling example of this darkness unfold with serial unaliver Darren Van. Between 2013 and 2014, he took the lives of 7 people, unaliving them and leaving their bodies in these forsaken dwellings. Crimes stayed hidden until he made a fatal mistake, leading to his arrest. His plea deal revealed the grim truth, exposing how these abandoned places provided him with a sinister cover for these horrific acts. The silence of these empty homes shielded his action, raising chilling questions about the lives lost and how much longer his crimes might have remained concealed if he didn't slip up. At number 8 is The Cage. Deep within the quaint village of the St. Oist lies a chilling relic of England's past, The Cage, a haunted house infamous for its eerie history. Originally a medieval prison where alleged witches faced trials and hangings in the 1500s, this place holds a spine-tingling reputation as one of England's haunted spots. 13 accused witches were once held here, and 3 met their demise on site, notably Ursula Kemp in 1582. After its closure as a prison in 1908, ghostly tales continued to swirl around the property. Previous owner Vanessa endured unexplainable phenomena, citing instances of ghostly encounters and poltergeist activities. Her reported experience include unsettling occurrences like being pushed while she was with child by an unseen force and objects mysteriously flying across rooms. Despite lingering spirits, a property found the new order in 2020 after a lengthening 12 years on the market. At number 7 is the Mixyang Ghost House in Taiwan. It was built in 1929 by a rich businessman, but soon after the family left it abandoned. One spooky legend revolves around how a maid who supposedly had an affair with the owner. The owner's wife found out, and she did some bad things to the maid. It said that the maid met her end tragically at the scene.
I don't know, they just loud. Ain't nothing I can do about that one, Miss Hazel.
Later on, the place became a shelter for members of a political party trying to escape persecution. Some say a few of
There, how about that?
unalive themselves here, making the place even more eerie.
My audio was loud as hell.
At number 6 is the Los Feliz Unaliving House, a spooky tale tied to a once elegant estate in LA. Back in 1959, Dr. Harold Perelson, a well-known cardiologist, tragically went on a rampage. He attacked his family in the night with a hammer, starting with his wife and the rest of his family. Luckily, the eldest
crap, my bad.
escape and seek help. The house remained
I didn't mean to hit that button, y'all.
terrible event. The family who next owned it never really moved in. They left the place as it was, keeping the Perelsons' belongings intact. Like an eerie time capsule from the 1950s with Christmas gifts still wrapped and forgotten, recently the house got cleared out and is up for sale with an estimated value of millions of dollars. At number 5, the Mojave Desert. It's stunning with its unique plants, especially the Joshua tree, but sadly, some people have used this vast, beautiful land as a place to hide terrible secrets. A former sheriff deputy chief mentioned that if someone wanted to hide something awful, they might choose a place like the California desert. It's isolated, making it easier to hide dark and disturbing things. In 1984, there was this guy named William Richard Bradford who pretended to be a photographer and lured people doing something horrible to them and then burying them in the desert after removing their tattoos. He got caught for 2 of these unalivings, but he might have done even more terrible stuff because he bragged about it, saying that there were probably more victims that no one even knows about. Not too long ago in 2013, they found the remains of 4 more in these shallow graves there. At number 4 is UK's House of Horror. This Victorian mansion in UK earned the chilling nickname House of Horror after a tragic incident that took place in 2006. Christopher Lumsden, a successful law partner, committed a horrific act by fatally unaliving his wife Allison by using a Blade. This act occurred after Allison disclosed her intention to leave him for a family friend.
I want one of those face emojis.
Lumsden served only 2.5 years in jail. The aftermath left the mansion abandoned, falling into a state of despair, and despite its once elegant appearance with well-kept lawns and tennis courts. In 2007, a property developer purchased the house, but its grim history deterred potential buyers. Over the decade-long restoration project, the mansion underwent significant renovations, and finally, it was put on the market for £2.5 million.
Yeah, I want a face one.
To its former glory. At number 3 is the Villa de Vecchi, known as the Red House, which sits quietly in the Italian mountains near Lake Combo. Built in the 1800s, it was once a grand summer retreat owned by a famous count, but now it stands abandoned, its elegance faded into ruin. Now, legends tell of a ghostly presence playing the piano within.
You said it was 80?
History, however, holds far darker events, because about 5 years after its completion, tragedy struck the count's family. His wife was found brutally unalived, and their daughter vanished as well. Count searched tirelessly for a year before unaliving himself in despair. The Red House hosted even darker events in later years. Rumors suggest that notorious occultist Aleister Crowley visited it, and his followers later conducted sinister rituals involving very gruesome things within its decaying rooms. At number 2 is Baton Rouge, which has been seeing a share of chilling stories involving serial unalivers lurking in abandoned places. Since 1997, this city has grappled with a serious issue, witnessing the loss of nearly 70 innocents at the hands of 5 different cold-hearted unalivers. It's alarming because Baton Rouge sits in Louisiana, the only state in the U.S. with a unaliving rate exceeding 10 unalivings per 100,000 residents. And at number 1 is Lennox Castle. Lennox Castle is a place with a long history which has seen some unsettling times. Initially built for a Scottish family, it later turned into an asylum for people with mental illnesses in the 1930s. During WW2, it became a hospital, and inside those walls, fights among patients were sadly common. Imagine one brawl being so intense that staff and even innocent patients fled, leaving rioters locked inside.
Yeah, well, I have to do it from my phone, though.
It was empty, and by 2002, it officially shut down. Now there's talk about changing the castle into apartments. Of course.
Coming in at number 10 is the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, well, this was just going.
20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty Menendez were
Yeah, all the CIA. No way the CIA, bro. All right, y'all. We're going to end this one. We're going to come back with part 2 to this. Don't go too far, though. I'm going to come back with another one. I see another one that was pretty interesting. What y'all think about some of these people? CIA even spooked out about them. I think. Nobody ain't scared of them dudes. All right, y'all. I'm going to end this one. I'll catch y'all on the next one.